Hi, I'm Spencer Krause. I've been building robots for over 20 years. In that time, I've seen a lot of interesting things, and I've heard a lot of interesting stories. Collaborative with Spencer Krause is a place where my colleagues and I can relax, crack a drink, and talk about some of the crazier things we've seen at work and some of the experiences we've had that have gotten us to where we are today. Subscribe today to join the collaboration. Welcome to the Collaborative Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Krause. Our guest today is Wes Brown. Wes is the CEO of Tension Dynamics and my co-founder. Wes, welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much, Spencer. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here, too. We've been meaning to do this for a while. Glad we're finally getting to do it. About a quarter of a bottle of whiskey in, and it's a good night.
Yes, having a good time. Thank you.
Thank you. You brought a bottle of Lafroig. I appreciate it. You and I met through the robotics scene a few years back. Thank you for getting involved in Tension. I'm so grateful to be working with you there. Where do we start?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you guys brought me in. I was born at a young age. It's how far do we want to go back?
That's fair. Okay, so you were in the Army for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Before getting involved in Tension.
Let's see. I'm at year officially, if you count some time before West Point, about 20 years now, 20 and a half years. So, I started in the Army. I was in the infantry for 7 years. I was first in Germany, met my wife there. My next assignment was in North Carolina. Spent some time
quite
over.
A contrast.
Yeah, quite a contrast. Weekends were quite different at one versus the other. And at each of those posts that I was at, I also spent a significant amount of time in the Middle East. When I was in Germany, I spent a little over a year in Iraq. And when I was in North Carolina, I spent just about a half a year in Afghanistan.
So how does that work? So like you got your post and then you just kind of deploy and then come back to the post is how it goes? Or like what's the deal?
Yeah, precisely. So coming out of West Point, went into training. I spent about a year in central Georgia. After that, I went off to my first official assignment. That was in Germany. So when I was in Germany, I was there for just under a year. And after that first bit of time there in Germany, spent a lot of time in the field, and in April of 2007 went to Baghdad, transited through Kuwait. I remember going from about a foot of snow to 90 degrees on the tarmac in Kuwait at about 3 a.m.
Fuck. That's quite a contrast.
Yeah.
So is Kuwait as fun as it seems? Because I feel like I get the vibe that Kuwaitis are just awesome, like in every way.
We were way off out in the middle of nowhere, and almost every Kuwaiti that we interacted with was great.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was couldn't really say otherwise.
Sweet. I think I was in Milwaukee. I met a bunch of guys from Kuwait, and they all had like supercars, and they were just a blast to hang out with. So
yeah, they're all nice.
It's like
guys.
my limited experience of Kuwait. Just loaded people that are fun to be around.
They are all really nice. There's even friends from Carnegie Mellon. They're the nicest people, and they're also smart too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, my buddy Mashari that I interviewed on the podcast is from Kuwait, I'm realizing. Sorry, Mashari. I didn't mean to forget about you. He is not loaded, but he is fun as fuck.
That's, my friend from CMU is also Mashari.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's the same guy, because he went to CMU.
Did he go to Tepper?
No, he was an engineer. He's a total nerd.
Okay.
It's probably just a common name.
Yeah. Well, hey, Mashari, I owe you a call. Sorry about that.
See you soon, Mashari. I'll give you a call as well. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, so you were in Germany. You deployed to Iraq a decent amount, and then North Carolina. How long were you in Germany for? Did you learn any German?
I was in Germany. I mean, if you include just the entire expanse of my time there, it was approximately 3 years. I met my wife there after the deployment, and as much German as I was learning, as soon as I met my wife, she was an Air Force brat. She knew German from the time she was a very young child, and she was over on a rotation with her company at the time, and she had a master's level proficiency in the language, and everything I had developed, I completely lost because anytime I went anywhere with my soon-to-be wife, they would speak to me, and I would try to speak German. They would speak to her, and they would stop speaking to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I lost most of that. Actually, while I was in Germany, I started losing my German.
This was only after you met Jenny.
That was after I met Jenny, yes.
Nice. Well, if you're listening, Jenny, it's all your fault.
Yeah, I'd be a better German speaker.
Yeah, but all good. All right, so 3 years there. You went to North Carolina. How'd you get into robotics? So, I mean, when you and I met, you were doing a decent amount of work for Carnegie Robotics.
Yes.
How'd you end up on that path?
I guess we could take that one back a little bit.
Okay.
So going from my sophomore into my junior year, I did an internship in Aberdeen Proving Ground at the Army Research Labs. We were given a Segway robotic mobility platform and a SICK LiDAR, and attempted to make it drive through obstacles as a pack mule. So this was 2004, and that was actually my first foray into robotics at all. I became a mechanical engineer because I thought cars were cool and I wanted to learn how engines worked, and I got to do that. But for some reason, it was far more interesting to get into robotics.
Yeah, for sure it is.
So that was 2004. Fast forward 2013, I joined the Army's Acquisition Corps, started working in research and development, worked in counter-explosives, small arms weapons. In about 2015, the end of 2015, I went to remote weapons, and it was one of the best program offices in the Army. And for anybody that doesn't know, the Army, every service has a number of program executives. Under them, they have project managers and product managers. I was a junior product manager within PEO Soldier within the Army. My portfolio, my boss was in charge of remote weapons for the Army within the program executive office, and I was responsible for mostly research and development aspects of the remote weapons program. So that was my first real, dipping my toe into control systems, beyond just simple perception and commanding. And from there, I went from 2 years in Crows to being the robotics requirements branch chief down in Georgia. So I ended up back in Georgia for a third time in the Army. And it's a place
the second time, because you started there.
Yeah. So I graduated West Point. I spent about a year in Georgia, spent 3 years in Germany, and I actually spent 6 months back in Georgia before going to North Carolina.
Got it.
So
so it was like a holding cell before North Carolina.
I don't know, maybe North Carolina was more of a holding cell. I quite enjoyed Fort Benning, Georgia. It's cool. It's a surprisingly great place. I love it.
I like Atlanta a lot. I've never been to Fort Benning, but Atlanta's got a great food scene. I don't know. I had a crush on someone from Atlanta for a while, so I'd go out there a decent amount to visit them.
Yeah, we ate a lot in Georgia, in Atlanta.
Yeah, there's a great food scene there.
Yeah, so I became the robotics requirements chief at Fort Benning. It was just a very small office. There was only 7 requirements. That's effectively being the customer for the government. Based off the way that the procurement apparatus works in the DoD, it's a little bit more complex than the rest of the federal government. So you have a requirement, you build a budget, and then you have the acquisition management. It's supposed to go in that order. It never does, but In some vein, it typically does. So there were robotics requirements. I was responsible for small drones and small robotics. So pack bots.
Like the SMET or like
Yes, the SMET was one of my requirements.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, full circle. I mean, that was 2004 to 2017. I went from doing a research project at Army Research Labs to being in charge of the Army's pack mule program.
Sweet.
It's really interesting. So I wasn't in charge of the acquisition portion of it. As I had the requirements and signed off and said, it should be able to go this far. It should be able to carry this much. I wasn't the one managing the budget for that one.
Awesome. Okay, so you got into robotics through like first the Segway, then the Krause system.
Yep.
Then being the manager for everything in the Army.
Segway.
All the requirements.
Yep. Krause. Most everything. I didn't own everything robotics, but there's this thing, if you work at Fort Benning, then you think you're in charge of everything. So I made sure to embrace that mentality. So I did at least manage to put my finger on everything. If I didn't, I didn't always get to have an influence or an impact on things, but it was interesting. My voice was heard. It felt pretty good, actually.
That's awesome.
Yep. So after that, came to Pittsburgh. I was here at Carnegie Mellon, and when I was at CMU, I started working at the National Robotics Engineering Center through the Army. And while I was there, I got familiar with the ecosystem, and after some time there, part-time, then full-time, I transitioned from the government over to Carnegie Robotics, and I got my first real taste of true robotics engineering. It wasn't me touching a piece part. It was me having to jump in and do everything, and it was so much harder. And my appreciation of everything robotics just grew exponentially. It's impressive, it's awe-inspiring, and it was just great to work with everybody, and it opened me up to the full AI and robotics community in Pittsburgh, and it was really something else.
That's awesome. And it is a great community we have here. Like I was just on the Robot Report podcast earlier today. That episode will come out like 3 months after this one does. But they asked me like, why robotics in Pittsburgh? And I'm like, because it's the best place to do it.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah. There's no question.
Right. I mean, for field robotics anyway. I mean, like if you want to go industrial automation, like go to Detroit.
Right. Yeah. Oh, they're great too.
If you want to go biotech, go to Boston. But like for field robotics, it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was something that was super interesting to me, is going back to 2004 at Aberdeen Proving Ground. I was trying to make this, one perception system drive this one two-wheeled system, which most of the processing power was in making that thing balance. It wasn't really helping direct anything, but over time I learned how much more goes into developing an autonomy stack and making those systems work. It was really loved coming here and seeing all of it, and it was something I actually started seeing while I was in the Army before I came here to Carnegie Mellon. Anybody that could work in an unstructured environment, most of those people were either working at somewhere in Pittsburgh or at NASA.
Oh, interesting. Which NASA centers have you kind of seen the most close up?
I never actually went to any, but the ones I have worked with engineers from various centers, and the ones that I would work with the most within the government tended to be JPL.
Oh, that's interesting. I've not talked to anyone at JPL.
Yeah, JPL a little, and I would say, Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, that's not NASA, but still that's
an
FFR.
For NASA. Like they're very connected.
Yeah, as an FFRDC, they're exceptional, and we saw some pretty good robotics there too that applied to
was that like the
unstructured
days? Or?
Yeah.
Do you know Eddie Tunstall by chance?
I don't know.
He was like one of the like roboticists on RoboSally, and then he was like also on all the Mars missions. I interviewed him on the podcast. He's like one of the smartest guys I know. He's also the one that pointed me to the Space Mechanisms Handbook for Tension Dynamics.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
That was an interesting read, a long one too.
You read it? There were so many documents. I didn't get through like most of them. I mean, I skimmed it.
I got through a lot of them. It's just my propensity to.
No, I love that. I respect the heck out of that.
Drive through government documents. I mean, I know where the boilerplate is, so I can get right straight to the meat.
Yeah, I think that's the problem for me is the boilerplate. I don't know where it is, and so it's like in World War II when like the planes would go out and just release a bunch of foil to distract the radar. Like that's like me around like the government documents. I'm like, none of this is helpful at all.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that was really how I came into robotics, and it was just full circle. Starting off with, perception system and a platform, moving up into, the big leagues and watching, NREC and Carnegie Robotics and SKA Robotics and everybody else in this town. It's, it's impressive. There's in the government it's winners and losers, but if you come here, you realize it's nothing but winners. It's so much technology and depth, and the way somebody might develop their autonomy stack might not necessarily work for that customer, but it's something that works in a way that has never been done before. It's amazing where we sit in terms of robotics and AI in the US.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean there's never been a better time to be alive and in the field, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Did you know that Collaborative with Spencer Krause now has a merch store? Please go to cwskmerch.com for the latest in CWSK styles. We've got hoodies, t-shirts, hell, we've even got whiskey glasses. Everything in the store has custom art that our team worked really, really hard on, so go ahead and show your support for them, me, and the rest of the CWSK team by going to cwskmerch.com today. Better yet, support yourself and use discount code PODCAST10, all one word, all uppercase, for 10% off your entire order. Thanks for your support and enjoy the rest of the show. Collaborative with Spencer Krause is sponsored by SKA Robotics. If you're in the market for elite field robotics expertise, please consider hiring SKA Robotics. They sponsor this podcast and solve some of the toughest engineering problems in the world. SKA Robotics can be found at skarobotics.com. What was getting the MBA like? Like, were there any revelations from that? I mean, I have my own thoughts about my Carnegie Mellon advanced degree. I'm curious to get yours.
For me, it was fantastic. I came from a place that it was very structured. I think I needed West Point straight out of high school. I needed the structure. But at the same time, so many things we did were structured. I didn't think outside of processes sometimes. I didn't think outside of what was established and what I could do with what was there. Going to CMU, that was different because I was actually taught, you need to think about how are you going to solve this problem. It's literally just an abstraction, and you need to make it concrete and help somebody make value out of it. And that was probably my favorite part, was learning that an MBA doesn't have to be about generating money. It's just about generating value. And it was great to be able to pump that back into my time in the government as a civilian, as a part-time soldier. You don't have to concern yourself with the money. It's just about maximum input or maximum output, maximum value. And learning how to measure that sometimes is incredibly difficult too.
That's what I was going to say. Is it like leverage basically on money, or is it not even related to money in? It's just value out?
It depends. And I would say it's the value that you generate. So within the construct of defense, you're looking at, let's see, how do you serve the public and the public good? It's, we have to serve the Western good, like the U.S.'s best interests. It's not necessarily going to be the best thing for me to save a whole bunch of money for the government, which is like, that would be an economic advantage that the Army gets from me, is to aggressively negotiate with whoever is providing the next PackBot. But
sure,
being able to understand, like, how do I optimize for maximum performance, cost efficiency, and being able to put as many of those efficient things out into the field. So maximum value, it was typically a three-legged stool within the government.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So quantity, quality, and cost.
Yeah, as they say, cost, schedule, performance. I actually think I like the way you said it better.
Just abstracting what you said.
Yeah.
Cool. No, that's interesting. I nobody's really explained it to me before, but it makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like there's probably some subjectivity in there as to how you interpret, relative weighting of those things, and probably even really quality is kind of subjective, as is quantity is objective and cost is objective. So quality is the one that's kind of up for debate.
Quality is always up for debate whenever you're discussing a government contract. I listened to an Acquired episode recently. It was about Epic Systems and their primary competitor. Epic was built ground up, pure vertical. They're
This is the
fully
healthcare,
healthcare
IT company.
IT company, and I forgot the name of their competitor. They were Franken company, born of M&A, in order to be able to compete, and they won a big DoD contract, and then the next big contract was a VA contract.
This was Epic, started with a DoD contract?
No, Epic did not win those contracts. Epic really was...
Yeah, I was going to say, that doesn't seem like their DNA.
No, they were accelerated more by their relationship. Their first big contract was Kaiser Permanente. It was Kaiser Permanente.
Yeah, it's a massive hospital system.
Yeah. So the other company, they were growing through M&A. Epic was growing vertically, and ultimately what it came to, it was like an $8 billion contract and I think a $10 billion contract, DoD, VA, and it was very clear that trying to integrate a bunch of disparate systems was going to be very difficult, and the government thought, no, it's okay, we can work around it. And it's, absolutely not. That's not going to happen. Sometimes you do have to go with the incumbent versus the new person, and just the balance of technological performance or breakthrough, or it's just so hard to know, will there be value that comes out of it, the way that we make some of our decisions. And so many times I've seen we don't make the best decisions, and it's not for lack of trying. It's not for an incredible amount of intelligent people. It's just some of the laws and regulations about how you make some choices.
I guess I could see that. So you just get tied up in red tape, and you're constrained, and you can only go so far.
Yeah. That's definitely the way to put it. Yeah.
I'm just restating what you said.
Well, I guess, yeah. I agree with you, and I think that's the way it goes.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Epic's a cool company. I had a buddy that was a trainer for them when I was in Milwaukee, and actually hung out with a bunch of physicians through him, and it was just... they're headquartered out of Madison. They've got a good culture. It's just an interesting group they got over there.
Yeah, I want to see their auditorium someday.
I have never been inside their auditorium.
Yeah, you never got to go underground, and
is that what that is?
Yeah, it's a 11,000 person underground auditorium.
You serious?
Yeah,
it's like a stadium underground.
Basically, yeah, it's the
Did
largest.
They take a missile silo and repurpose it, or did they make that?
That's funny. It's in the Midwest. Yeah, I wonder if that was part of their construction plan. I don't know.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked at the? This is a total tangent, but have you ever looked at the website that just sells old missile silos? I used to look. Okay, that's awesome.
I have. Yes.
I love that you've seen this too.
Yeah. I saw some real estate listings. My favorite one was the listing. Somebody was living in one, and they had there was a little rowboat that they had because it had filled up with water, and rather than trying to abate all the water or do anything to manage it, they just treated it as an underground lake, basically.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, very terrifying lake if you fell into it, but they made it really interesting the way that they designed it.
That's wild. Those structures are so cool. To your point, it's definitely a cavern, and there's radioactive material that was there and stuff. But It's I don't know, they're neat. Like for anyone that's an aspiring James Bond villain, you should check out this website. I think it's 20th Century Castles, if I remember correctly.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I
don't even know if
bookmarked
it's
it.
still. They've probably declared bankruptcy by now.
I'm sure.
This was years ago. If you haven't declared bankruptcy, 20th Century Castles, I sincerely apologize. Please send all complaints to podcast@skarobotics.com. Cool. So so like, I mean, tension dynamics, it's been really, really fun kind of working on that with you. I mean, we haven't even addressed it at all, which I feel like, we should get into it. What compelled you to want to just kind of put yourself into that? I mean, like, I realize that's a loaded question, and
it is.
you're talking to me, who's like the chief operating officer. So, full disclosure, I mean, this might be a bit of an ad.
Well, that's two folks from Tension Dynamics. We have no problem with that. I was at Carnegie Robotics, and the technology was incredible. I couldn't believe the things that I was working on. It was science fiction basically turning into reality every day in front of me. And I had a potential assignment to Europe to support a war effort there, in terms of supporting new technologies, as that was my specialty, still is. And that assignment was pulled back from the reservists that I work with, and I was still asked if I would like to work in the Pentagon. I was very hesitant, but also interested, and my ambivalence was just kind of overwhelmed by the fact that just time kept pressing on. And it was hard to say goodbye to great people, and it was also hard to not say, hey, I'm going to also work with these great people here. Fast forward a couple of months, I ended up in the Pentagon. I was working in urgent requirements, so things from all over the world that needed new technology to support certain missions. As I was there, I had a year assignment. As I was coming to the end of my assignment, I knew I needed to move on to something else. Some family commitments came up, and I needed to move close to family in New York. Started speaking with my old network, so speaking to folks in defense contracting. I was more interested in going back into robotics. Had a conversation with you, and after we had a conversation about how can I help you understand how to work with a particular customer in the Army.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I knew where the money was, and I know where the money is and where the money isn't sometimes, and I told you that there wasn't necessarily a lot of money there, but it was an excellent mission. But I was so interested in the technology, I couldn't stop asking questions about it, and you guys said, why are you so interested in this? And I think you knew right off the bat, and he wants to work in something hard. And you presented me with a wicked problem. It was, we have this hammer. Can you find me a nail? And I thought I could find you probably a million nails, but let's turn this into some kind of use case. And like I said earlier, I was so used to working within the confines of like, this is established and this is what you have and this is what you get to work with. And Carnegie Mellon, they were the people that told me, don't worry about that crap. Like, you can go out here and you need to think about trying to do something different, create something from nothing, like create structure out of abstraction. And that's really what led me to Tension Dynamics. And we had, I remember looking at this actuator and I thought, wow, this is so cool. I can't believe it has such interesting dynamic properties. You know, who's going to care about a linear actuator, though? And
so true.
We have discovered over time that is so true. And how could we make linear actuators something that people would be super excited about? And I think that's really where our journeys converged recently in the last couple of months. And building a hexapod from a clean sheet and absolutely nothing to something built in 3 months. And taking it to the premier simulations conference in the world and getting interest from the premier simulations companies in the world kind of validated my desire to do something hard, do something that hasn't been done before, and try to get it out there and make it something valuable to not just the simulations community, not just people who want to move stuff, but people who want to really change the way that you look at how the world is moved.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think also like to zoom out a level and kind of go away from the ad for a second, like it's interesting to think that when you build something into an application, people start to understand it more. Like, I mean, we had an awesome linear actuator that's unparalleled in its performance, and I won't say nobody gave a fuck, but I do want to say that, like,
no one gave a fuck.
Right?
It was.
So then you put 6 of them together, and you're like, you put a chair on top of it, and people are like, oh my God.
I get it. Yeah,
exactly.
It was only engineers cared. Engineers saw it, and they said, oh, I get it.
Yeah, that'll work in everything.
Different. Yeah.
But then you put it in something, and then people that aren't engineers are like, I see that working in the thing.
Yeah.
That thing works better than any of the other things that do that thing.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like you could repeat that for, like, you know, like
there's so many
pick and play, like anything where you could apply our actuators. You could just design the end product, and then people would suddenly get it. You know,
yeah, definitely. I feel like that's true with so many deep tech things, and it's you don't want to develop something that has broad applicability in deep tech, but it's only going to apply to engineers. It's we're creative in the means of, like, in the manner of we have to build things, but we're not necessarily creative all the time in terms of, like, what could the use case be. So we brought a use case, and hopefully more people understand what they see, and they can also, you know, like, draw some sort of parallel to what this could also help in their life.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I mean, I think you were right. Like, the engineers get that, like, you know, and in that one meeting we're in today, and I won't give too many details just for people listening. I'm sorry, guys, but, you know, we're in competition here. You know, in that one meeting we're in, the one guy that was like, what else could this be used for? And then, like, do you remember that question?
Yes, I do.
And I was like, here's a dozen things. And, like, he lit up.
This is this
is
pure
exactly what we're coached not to say.
Yeah, this is what we shouldn't say. This technology. It's a pure horizontal. Like, we don't fit into a vertical. We've chosen a vertical, and we knew that this is where it would make the biggest splash.
Sure, but it could make such a big splash in so many places.
A lot of splashes in a lot of places.
We could have chosen a different vertical and still probably equally impressed. Maybe not equally, but, like, similarly impressed people. I think I like the vertical that we chose.
I like it too.
But we could have picked a lot of verticals and still had it make an impact.
Yeah, we'll have fun with it.
Yeah, we will have fun with it.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited to be on this journey with you.
Yeah, it's exciting. Every stage that we go through, the fits and starts and the ups and downs, I would so much rather be doing this than just punching a clock every day.
Amen, brother.
And I'm unbelievably lucky in terms of where I was, and, you know, the government can very much feel like that. You punch a clock every day. I worked most of my jobs. I showed up and I looked at a new technology every day or a new problem, and I got to solve things. And, you know, every time I meet somebody and they say, "Oh, you were in the Army," it's, you know, what was that like? And I can tell you it was just like what you thought for the first 7 years, and everything.
The 13 years where you were.
Everything I've done since 7 years out of college has been totally different, and, you know, I got a lot of comments when I was in my MBA program. I'd start talking about things, and I would always talk about research projects and engineering work, and the customer was doing a terrible job of quantifying their requirements, and we'd always walk out of class and were you really in the Army? That doesn't make any sense. Everybody else is talking about pooping in buckets and, what's going, like sleeping in puddles. It's like, well, that's exactly what I did. I did that too. I a lot of sleeping in puddles and stories that involve bodily functions, but I was lucky everything else after that. I was so glad I did the engineering thing and decided to truly apply it later.
So you went to West Point. You got a mechanical engineering degree. You pooped in buckets and slept in puddles for 7 years.
Yes.
And then you got to use the mechanical engineering degree after that?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
That was, I initially joined the Uniformed Scientist program, and the Uniformed Scientist program ended. So I was accepted to the Uniformed Scientist program in October.
What's the Uniformed Scientist program?
Exactly. It died. So I was accepted in October. And you go to a training course, and I went to that training course in May, and the Uniformed Scientist program was officially shuttered to active duty that summer. So less than a year after I was accepted, less than a year till I did the training, and then was back out in the force doing something meaningful. I went to Picatinny Arsenal, New Jersey to be an engineer. And I expected to be sitting at a bench, working on, the best way to work on energetics and munitions or protection systems. Instead of working on those things, I ended up in program management, which I think overall benefited me more, and I got to see more of the world. But Uniformed Scientist program, what is that? It is no more.
What is that? It isn't?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Is it just exactly what it sounds like, or was it just exactly what it sounded like, I should say?
Effectively, yeah. It was, you didn't expect to go like that far in terms of rank and recognition. It was, you got to wear a uniform instead of a lab coat, basically.
Huh.
But
so you're just somebody that's a soldier but is also like an engineer or a scientist, I'm going to say, because you're an engineer.
Yeah. So the internship I did in 2004, I had my mentor from the Army Research Labs, and I had a professor from the academy who went down and was like officially the researcher was officially my mentor, and then we had another researcher. He was the senior researcher, and I was the intern. I believe he was in the Uniformed Scientist Corps, and he got his he was such a smart guy. He went to Harvey Mudd.
Oh, cool. That's a tough school to get into.
That's a really tough school. It's an awesome school. He went to Harvey Mudd. I forgot where he got his master's, and then he was enrolled at MIT getting his PhD right after that.
That's a shit school. Never heard of it.
Yeah, who's ever heard of that place? It's and he ended up doing stuff with like DARPA and various federally funded research and development centers.
Awesome.
And that's what I thought I wanted to do. And honestly, I got to work with all those places. But being where I sat in terms of program management, I actually got to touch way more things and see more technology than rather getting down into the weeds like I thought I was going to.
That's kind of where it's at, right? I mean, like I've kind of experienced that in my own career. Like there was a time when I used to work with these hands and actually make things, and
yeah,
you've seen
those
me do
were
it
the days.
Like twice. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
But for
you
the
in
most
a
part,
suit building the hexapod.
Yep.
Before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, no, I've worked many a holiday, and I don't intend on stopping anytime soon. But it's perfectly good time that nobody uses.
Yeah.
So,
no disruptions.
Yeah, exactly. As we near the end of the episode, I always ask people, like, is there anything you want to plug? And
I think you probably know what I'm going to plug, and this is for both of us. It's tension dynamics. We're redefining motion in machines, and we're really excited about next steps for the company and our traction. We're gaining a lot, and we really hope to gain a whole lot more, not just in the robotics community, but wherever you need motion in machines.
Absolutely. And I would say also, since, I've never actually riffed off of someone's plug, but since we're on the same company here, we are looking to raise money right now. So if anyone is listening and you are an investor and you want to just, put an innovative company in your portfolio that could really take it to the next level and multiply your investment several times over, please give us a call or look Wes up on LinkedIn, Wes Brown, as you'll see in the episode description, or me, Spencer Krause, and reach out because, we'll looking for sophisticated, right fit investors that can help take this company to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you again. Appreciate it so much.
Yeah, for sure. Likewise.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us today. If you've made it this far, chances are you'll like other episodes too. Collaborative with Spencer Krause can be found on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Radio Public. Subscribe today to get notified when the latest episodes release and support the channel. Have an idea for a guest I should interview? Hop in the comments and let me know who that is. I'm always looking for new people to talk to, and chances are you know folks that I don't yet. Thanks for coming in, and I'll see you on the next one. Collaborative with Spencer Krause is sponsored by SKA Robotics. If you're in the market for elite field robotics expertise, please consider hiring SKA Robotics. They sponsor this podcast and solve some of the toughest engineering problems in the world. SKA Robotics can be found at skarobotics.com.